as soon as I handed it, it just grabbed it and stuck it in its mouth to eat it. And so I had like a big umbrella in front of me, and I reached up to grab the peso, and it, like, fast as you could snap your finger, just shredded the umbrella into like a million pieces, grabbed my hand, put it in its mouth, and just yanked. We always said he trained his monkey to attack Mormon missionaries.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of The Best Mission Stories. I'm your host, Will Bozeman, Elder Bozeman on the show. We have a wonderful guest today that we will introduce here in just a moment. Before we do that, I want to remind everyone who is watching and listening that if you have a great mission story that you would like to share, reach out to us. We'd love to get you on the show. The contact info is in the show description, and we'd be more than happy to get you going on the show as well. Our guest today is Rusty Crandell, and if you'd like, I can address you as Elder Crandell on the show, just so for old time's sake.
Let's do it.
All right, Elder Crandell. All right, so if you wouldn't mind, maybe tell everybody a little bit about, just say the mission you went to, when it was, and, maybe if you have a few, pieces of info about how you got, keyed up to go on the mission, that'd be great too. If you want to start there, that'd be awesome.
So I served in the Philippines Ilagan mission. I think it has changed names since then, but it is in the northeast corner of the Luzon Island in the Philippines. That area is one of the most underdeveloped regions of the Philippines. It's a very rural area, lots of rice fields everywhere, and a lot of really humble people. So I was there from July 1998 to 2000.
Okay.
And what was the other question?
Well, just getting ready to go on a mission, going up to the actual event of going on a mission. I mean, any particular thoughts you have about that? Some people have some pretty interesting, stories getting ready to go on a mission.
I guess mine is probably not very interesting in the sense that I grew up singing "I Hope They Call Me on a Mission," and that's just what I wanted to do. So it was never really a decision like if I would go. It wasn't like, it's what I always wanted to do. And the Philippines, I had no idea where it was when I opened my mission call, but I was elated when I finally figured that out.
Well, all right. And you spoke another language, I'm guessing?
Yeah, Tagalog.
Okay, excellent.
So in the Philippines, their national languages are Tagalog and English, but in the Philippines, they speak, 100 different dialects and have all kinds of different languages. So in my area, there were many different dialects spoken, which are not like, people like talk about like picking up a dialect, like, I don't know, like they had a gift that I did not have. These are completely different languages. Like they're not like close, like they're completely different languages and they're spoken all that. So anyway, I picked up Tagalog and that's it.
Well, that's amazing. I've heard a lot of stories already about the language aspect of this and how the first, several months you're out, you feel a bit helpless. And what it tends to do, though, is, when you are helpless in the language, you oftentimes get a chance to rely more on the Spirit for communicating. And that seems to be something that a lot of missionaries, and I've heard this for years, a lot of missionaries talk about this, where as they're learning the language, they really, don't have, there's no pride or arrogance in your ability to speak. You're just getting the message out the best you can, letting the Spirit do the rest. So I'm guessing you probably had some of that occur as well.
Yeah. So when I was in the MTC, I heard this talk, like if you read the Book of Mormon in your native language, you'll be fluent. So by the time you get done reading it, so like I busted it through and really worked on reading the scriptures, the Book of Mormon in Tagalog, and I don't know that I was quite fluent by the time so I would not rely upon that promise alone to learn your language. But I would say like 6 months in, I was called as like a senior companion and serving in an area that, I mean, what is different? I mean, I don't know. I guess it's 20 years since or more than 20 years since I served, but what is different than what I think is common here in the United States is that when I served you, you weren't just a missionary. You were basically like helping establish the church. You were helping train the leaders, helping the branch. So it was not just missionary service, but it was like you were really kind of behind the scenes, like helping prop up the church, like and the local leader. So
Yeah.
a lot of responsibility put on pretty young missionaries.
Well, you say that, and you're my memory's going to the vineyard, right?
Mhm.
Like the servants in the vineyard, and you're literally building out a new section of the vineyard. It takes a different type of work to do that. That's interesting. So
So
okay, yeah,
my
yeah, keep
my
keep
mission
going.
president taught a story. When you kind of think of it, it's kind of crazy that they would give young 19-year-old, because it was 19, I was 19 at the time, uh, missionaries like that level of responsibility. But my mission president taught a story. I think he called it the parable or allegory of the mango. And in the Philippines, the mangoes are much more delicious than the mangoes that you get here in the United States. In the Philippines, they're a bright golden orange. And generally in the United States, they're kind of spotty and
Kind of green.
yeah, not,
Yeah.
and you can taste the difference. And my mission president said that the reason for the difference is they kind of slow, they pick them early and then they ripen as they are getting transported across the ocean. So it takes time for them to transport. But in the Philippines, surprisingly, what they do is what he called quick ripen the mangoes. So they pick them, they put them all together and they put some kind of cloth over the top of them. And there's some kind of chemical that ripens them really fast. And that quick ripening process gives you a much more rich tasting mango than the slow ripened mangoes that kind of slow boated across the ocean. And my mission presidents used the same kind of analogy with his missionaries. Like, I want you to get quick ripened. Like, I don't want you to become a great missionary, 2 years later. I want you to be a great missionary now. And he did that by giving a lot of responsibility to missionaries up front to try to quick ripen the missionaries.
That is I like that. That's an interesting analogy. I mean, it makes a lot of sense too. In real life, if you want someone to, you know, develop all those skills, you just have to give them responsibility.
Yeah.
You can't. It's less telling and more doing. It's like I can tell you to be all of these things, but until you have the assignment and it's your responsibility, you're not going to actually, learn how to do it, which is interesting. I like that. So yeah, I am going to ask. So just to let the audience know here that that Rusty and I do know each other outside the show, and I know there is a story that I do want to hear about because you mentioned it once. But and when the time is right, you can tell that story about the monkey. I would
I
be-
got I don't know what kind of stories you want. If you want funny stories or spiritual
it's
stories, but I got funny stories
okay.
and
Yes,
practical ones too.
let's go for it. I mean, it's both. It's both. I've had lots of funny stories and lots of we're crying stories. So I love them all. So yeah, go for it.
So, well, maybe we can start off with this one. I don't know if you can see it. Can you see it on
I
the
see. Yeah, I
camera?
see the a little bit of a scar there. Yep. Hmm.
Yeah, so there is a huge scar up and down my thumb. And the story for this one is in the Philippines, there is a church called Iglesia ni Cristo, which just translates to Church of Christ. And they're very like prevalent in the Philippines. Well, we went and knocked on, and in the Philippines, actually, you don't really knock on doors. You just say, you stand outside the house and you say, Tao po. So you just kind of call to the people, which basically translate like people please. And they come. But anyway, so I can't say I was knocking doors, but anyway, we saw this uh, we didn't know he was a preacher, but we found out that he was a preacher in this church, and he had a monkey chained to the tree. And we were, we were talking with him. I mean, he was polite and, wasn't really interested in obviously hearing the lessons from us, but we were talking with him, and he had a monkey chained to a tree, and we were shaking the monkey's hand and all kinds of things. And had such a good time with the monkey, I decided to give it a peso because I don't have a banana or anything, so let me give it a peso. So I handed it a peso, which is their coin, and as soon as I handed it, it just grabbed it and stuck it in its mouth to eat it. And so I had like a big umbrella in front of me, and I reached up to grab the peso, and it like fast as you could snap your finger just shredded the umbrella into like a million pieces, grabbed my hand. So you can't see it, but there were scars on both sides of my hand, and just grabbed my hand, put it in its mouth, and just yanked. So that is like the scar is all the way from there all the way down. So it bit and then just yanked
Oh,
my finger. So we end up having to
man.
my companion was just laughing hilarious and like I'm like like this is like a really deep wound.
Yeah.
Anyway, he was just like hysterically laughing. So we learned our lesson to go, knocking doors of Iglesia Ni Cristo preachers. I mean, we always said he trained his monkey to attack Mormon missionaries. Not obviously not true, but so we went to the hospital, and this was not like the same standard of hospitals. They didn't like clean it. They just dumped a bunch of iodine in it, and then put like five Frankenstein stitches on it. And I don't know if you can tell, but it's a pretty long wound. Like five Frankenstein stitches didn't really do the trick. So it was like anyway, when my mission president's wife fortunately was a nurse, she saw what it looked like. She's like, oh my gosh, it was getting infected. So they ended up, taking out the stitches, completely cleaning it out and restitching it. I think they ended up doing like 20, 25 stitches in it. And then we had to go check back periodically to make sure that the preacher's monkey did not die, because if it had rabies, it would have died. So I had to get like
Oh,
the first series of the rabies shots in the event that it did die. But fortunately, it didn't. So I didn't have to do the full blown
oh.
round of rabies shots. So yeah, so I have a monkey bite.
And on top of that, we're lucky to have you here today,
Yes,
just
yes,
in
no,
case.
and no rabies. Uh,
Oh man,
so,
well, that is not a normal kind of story.
you know, it is a good icebreaker when try to ask people to guess what the scar on my finger is caused from. Very few people have guessed it, but you were one of the ones who were able to guess it.
I had to put two and two together. There were other people in the room, and somebody else said dog bite, and you're like, no. And I was all like, well, what else is in the Philippines that would be that aggressive to bite you? And I was like, probably a monkey. So well, okay, yeah, well, glad that it worked out. So okay, most people have one or two memories of their mission that kind of define their mission. They look back over a 2 year period. Certain things tend to pop out. Is there anything like that pops out for you? Any kind of defining experiences or people that just kind of pop out as, that's my mission, in a single, in a nutshell?
Um,
And I realize that could be very personal. Obviously, you don't have to share the personal stuff if you don't want to, but anything like that. Yeah, go for it.
so there was, so I served that first area. I can't even remember, maybe like 3 months. And um, then I got a phone call that I was being transferred to a new area. So the assistants to the president picked me up and I'm like, well, where am I going? And they're like, we don't want to, we can't tell you. So we like did this long ride and then they dropped me off in the middle of the night in this small town. I think it was called Lalo. And they're like, Rusty, you are the new zone leader of this zone. And the mission president didn't want to tell you because he wanted you to have a nice, peaceful trip without being stressed out the whole way. I don't know that that was accurate, but I'm like, what? And they're like, and yeah, this is the lowest baptizing mission in the Philippines. They haven't had baptisms for a really long time. So go have at it.
Yep, they're okay.
I mean, it's like that's if you're a newly called zone leader, I guess that's kind of like the place you want to be called, right? Because you can only go up from there,
Yeah,
right?
let's say you can only go up. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of expectations to live up to. Uh,
Um, so the first thing, I was very overwhelmed and, tried to go out and about and teach, but the apartment that we were in was just completely trashed. Like it was just it was just a train wreck. I mean, it was just grungy and dirty and filthy. And, for the like, I'm just like, I can't. So the first day, after like getting my bearings, I'm just like, I'm gonna scrub this apartment. So I spent a whole day just scrubbing that apartment and making it feel like a good place. And, because I didn't know anything different, I just focused on doing exactly what the mission president said and focused on doing exactly what the mission rules said. And long story short, in about 3 months, we, and this wasn't me, but that's the message that I communicated to the elders in the zone. We went from the lowest baptizing mission to the highest baptizing mission in the church, or not in the church, but in the mission.
mission.
And just by just just sticking to the rules, and it made all the difference. And that reminds me of my mission president. When I believe he first got there, we were one of the low, when he first got as mission president, he was it was one of the lowest baptizing missions, and it transformed to one of the highest baptizing missions. And if you know anything about the Philippines, at least at that time while I was there, it's one of the highest baptizing areas of the world. And so to go from the lowest to one of the highest, meaning you're one of the highest baptizing missions in the world to be one of the highest baptizing missions in the Philippines.
Wow.
And my mission, anyway, that was not the case for this mission when he first got there. And with the mission having extremely low baptisms compared to all of the other missions, he did something that I thought was pretty incredible. He said, because candidly, it's pretty easy to baptize children and women in the Philippines. It's much harder to baptize complete families. And when I say complete families, I'm meaning the husband. So you could get a lot of baptism by baptizing the wife and all of the kids. And that's what a lot of missionaries were doing at the time. But he basically established a rule that no women or children could be baptized unless the husband was baptized as well. And unless they got an interview and unless he, the mission president, approved the baptism. Like, so what would you guess? Like, you would guess that would like drastically caused the baptisms in the mission to fall because the women and children are the vast majority of
Right.
the baptisms. But in reality, what happened is I think the baptisms tripled in the mission when he
Wow.
set that rule. And I think that the reason for that was like to baptize a man, the priest, like a future priesthood holder, a person who could take that family, like go and get sealed together in the temple. It took a lot more work. Like, why were these men not getting baptized? Because they often had a lot of vices, alcohol, smoking, all kinds of vice. It took a lot more work to baptize the men than it did to baptize the woman and her children. But I think when God saw that you were willing to do the work to bring complete family units to baptism and then to the temple, um, it opened the floodgates. Like these missionaries are willing to do the work to create eternal family units, and it opened the doors. So anyway, that's like a something that's always stuck with me. Like if you do something the right way, I guess you don't always, I mean, you don't have to do things like I'm going to do things the right way because I'll be blessed if I do it. I mean, that's not how
Right.
I don't think my mission president went about doing it, but it just happened to be that way. And anyway, it was a testament for doing the hard work and being rewarded for doing it.
You bring up a very good well, that's a great story too. The talk good, better, best comes to mind, and you've heard of that. You're describing that right there. It's sure it's good. No one would say you shouldn't baptize someone who wants to get baptized, right? But there is a good, better, best component to that, right? The best option is to have the whole family get baptized. And you know this as well as anyone that a husband and wife who are both you know honoring the gospel and actually trying together are way more likely to be active and successful in the gospel. And so yeah, and it's and you I've known single my whole life growing up in the South as well and on the mission as well. There were always part member families, and you'd have one spouse who came to church actively, and the other one was not a member, and that happened all the time. But the amount of work and effort that the active, spouse had to put into to all of that, and especially if they were bringing the kids as well. I mean, how much better would it be if both spouses were committed and going to church and all the kids saw the example as well? So I mean, yeah, that's seeing that you did that, or that the mission president put that policy in place. That's interesting, because I bet you there would probably be a fear that all the numbers would drop and everybody would be afraid that they wouldn't have people that would be willing to get baptized because their husband probably wouldn't come along, and so just kind of end the discussions, right, in the process. But you're saying it didn't happen, had the opposite effect. That is an amazing story. That's yeah. Ah, interesting. That I'll take a liberty here to tell one of my stories too. But we had I I had probably, I mean, I don't know exactly how many, but there were a lot of couples that we came across who were either part member families, and also scenarios where they were living together, not married, like girlfriend, boyfriend, but not married, and wanting to join the church, and getting married and things like that. So there were many occasions where I was either part of the wedding event, or in some capacity went to a wedding so that they could actually end up getting baptized and joining the church and all that. So I mean, there's one of the stories, one of the events that I remember is one of my first areas. There was a guy who requested a free Book of Mormon. Did you guys ever do that? People see the ads and request a free something. Do they have that when you were there?
Not really in the Philippines, like,
No.
but yeah.
So, people would see like a commercial or an ad, and have get a free copy of the Book of Mormon, and have representatives deliver it, hand deliver it. So we would do that. We would go out and deliver, and then sometimes it'd be, Bibles, Book of Mormons. Sometimes it'd be like, videos, movies that the church would give away, like Eternal Families, things like that. In this particular case, somebody had requested a free Book of Mormon, and we went and went to deliver that. And I got there and started talking to him, and he had just gotten out of prison. He had been in prison for 20 something years. And so, not exactly, I mean, I don't know what he would have done, but to be in prison for 20 something years, would have had to be something fairly bad, to have had that long of a prison sentence. But he had determined that he was going to, uh, take this opportunity to make his life right and do it the right way, right? So there was a girlfriend that he had, and they had like two kids, and he was like, you know what? I want to do all this the right way. He's like, I gave up all of the hard drugs when I was in prison. He's like, so, I don't have to worry about those. But I said, I smoke. He's like, I smoke and I drink, and coffee and all these things. He's like, and you're telling me I need to get rid of all those things. I'm like, yep. And he's like, okay. And so he's talking to his girlfriend at the time, and he was like, this is what we're going to do. He's like, we're going to get rid of everything, and we're going to get rid of all the alcohol, the cigarettes, we're done. And she was like, okay. And she was just so happy that he was like dedicated to turning his life around. Over the course of like about, a couple months, teaching him, it was clear. I mean, he was serious about it. And next thing you know, he had asked her to marry him officially, and I got to be a witness at the wedding, and he actually had it at the chapel. It was a branch, so local chapel. The bishop did it, and it was just fun being there, just to see them get married. And it was, I think, the next day or a couple days later they got baptized. But it was just incredible that when he decided that he was going to make use of this second opportunity in life, that he took it very seriously, and I think his wife just saw that he was being a leader like she probably always wanted him to be. It sure felt that way when, I wasn't there all the time, but when I was there, it felt like she was just so proud of him for turning toward the gospel, turning toward, Christ, and being an example for the whole family and for their kids. So yeah, I could see where it would make a huge difference, like what you're describing there, to make sure that the men and the husbands and the fathers in those families are getting in the gospel. They need that, and that's going to be the example that the kids and the family need, to make a strong family and actually grow the church. It's really cool. That's a cool story.
Yeah. Well, thank
Yeah, I
you. Very
love that.
cool.
Yeah. Well, I was referring to your cool stories. So yeah. So yeah. So okay. You mentioned you had some ample funny stories. Let's hear. I'd love to hear some more if you got some others.
Sure. I got a deep repertoire. Or yeah, I got a lot in the bag.
Okay.
So in one area, we did not have the nicest apartment. We had to pump. I mean, I guess most areas we had to pump our own water, and then you would filter it through a sack to filter out the worms, and then you would take a coal.
You caught me
Then
off
you
guard. I was thinking dirt, and you said worms.
worm, worm. Yes,
Go
and
ahead.
then you would
Okay,
take
keep
a
going.
cold bucket shower, and so I mean that gives you some. If it got really cold, then you would like maybe boil a pot of water to try to dump into the bucket. But most of the year, you were just taking cold bucket showers. Anyway, point is well, I'll lead up to this story with a couple of other stories. So you can tell. See, I'm wearing glasses. Um, One day, I so we would filter the water through a flour bag that would sit on top of a big barrel. So you'd just dump the water through the flour bag. And I didn't have my glasses on because I was going to take a bucket shower. And I saw like a plot, like just splotch in the middle of the flour bag. And I'm like, that's probably just a bunch of worms that had been filtered through the bag. Like not nothing new. And I'm like, I probably should look. So I grabbed my glasses and put it on, and it was filled with rat or mice fetuses. Like a rat or mouse had given birth right there, and it was just filled with baby rat or mice. I don't know which one it was.
Oh, wow.
Like, oh my gosh, yeah. Glad I put on my glasses to check that out. And another time, same thing. I saw another splotch on the bag, and I'm like, ah, it's just worms. Don't worry about it. And you're like, as you're sitting here right now, you're like, always check if you're not sure what is on the bag. But for whatever reason, like, don't worry about it. I'm like, I better check. And, I was like to like, and I looked and it was like a huge, big black scorpion.
Oh
Just
my
like, one
gosh.
of like, not like the kind that we have in Arizona. They're ugly enough, but like, I'm talking like the big black scorpion just right there. So anyway, this is that apartment. Um, I wake up, so I'm sleeping, wake up one morning and I feel something hit me and I wake up, I'm like, what is going on? And I'm covered in rice. And I'm like, what the heck? Is my companion throwing rice at me? And I'm just like covered in rice. And then I get hit with more rice and I like see my companion still over there sound asleep. So I'm like, what the heck? So I take a closer look at the rice and I see that it is moving. And I realize that I am covered in maggots that are dripping through the ceiling. And we had a little Filipino boy
Oh,
go check up in the ceiling to see what was causing it. And there was a dead rat up in the ceiling
oh my gosh.
that was covered in maggots and it was dripping through the ceiling. So that
Oh
that
my
is
gosh.
the morning that I woke up covered in rice.
Oh my gosh.
So
I don't want to go on a mission after these
I know. Better stop telling my Filipino
stories.
funny stories, huh?
Oh my gosh. Oh man. That's, oh, okay. Yeah. That's definitely that's up there. That's up there. I have not heard anything quite that intense. So yeah, that qualifies as one of the best the best mission stories for
Yeah, I
sure.
usually like wait, let all the missionaries tell their stories, and like let you all have your fun. Uh, because once I tell my stories, it kind of like shuts down the room. Drop
I
the
was like, I don't
mic.
know what else to say. I don't know. I can't contribute anything. I can't. I was like, no, it's like there's nothing I can say. I was gonna say, yeah, I felt something, when I was sleeping once too, and I was thinking about that, and I was like, no, that's not. Yeah, there was I heard a rat once. I thought a rat crawled across my blanket once, but I couldn't be sure. But you woke up and were covered in maggots. That's pretty much. Yeah, it doesn't get much more crazy than that. But I mean, but people don't get it. I mean, other parts of the world are just like that. I mean, it's like there's, you know, um, you got to filter the water, you got to boil the water. Living there, I guess it would qualify as difficult, right? Just being there.
Yeah,
I mean, if you don't have all the luxuries you have here, um, it's just probably just a different way. But the people, I'm guessing, are just used to that, right? That's just how they live, right?
yeah. I
Um,
mean, they eat rice. I mean, there's not like you think like if you're a missionary here in the States, like, least I can cook mac and cheese or ram. There's not mac and cheese. There's not ramen noodles. Like there's like it's a completely different like cuisine, completely different experience. You know, everyone has like propane stoves, like little gas stoves, like kind of camping stoves. That's what you cook on
Huh.
there. And you know, as crazy as my stories are, like we were living in a brick house, you know, like most people, a lot of people there were living in, you know, nipa huts, you know, built out of bamboo and things like that. So, you know, like we were dry every night, you know. There were people
Wow.
who were not. So, um, very
Although I would say it's still raining maggots in even in a nice house. Uh,
But yeah, the people in the Philippines though are incredibly beautiful and in the sense, I mean, all around. I mean, there are beautiful people, but they are so humble. And when I came back to the United States, like it was just like, I mean, I guess two things. Like this is sound bad, but I was first of all like like shocked at how like big we are as Americans. Like that's a nice way of saying how big we are. Like we are just a lot bigger than the people in the Philippines. But also like when I came off the airplane, it was just like how prideful. Like not that like I mean, I'm prideful, you're pride like just like we have so much. Like I just remember like feeling like how could I ever like baptize or help convert any of the people in the United States. Like it would just be so much more difficult than the people in the Philippines because they were humble and you know they're a beautiful humble people and it was easy to share the gospel with them kind of like Alma teaching the gospel because they were humble and dependent upon God. And, you know, despite the very different circumstances that we have in America and the people in the Philippines where I went and where I was serving had, I did see like a very like commonality, like the experience of life. It's not that much different, like the same trials, the same thing. Like sure they cook out of a propane gas stove, camping stove, and you know I have a lighter that goes on electricity. You know I don't have lamps, but they do. But like none of that really like inherently changes the life experience. So I was also just impressed by the same life experience, despite like the different circumstances. Just life seemed to be very like the same trials, same experiences. So in some ways, that was something that was interesting to me to see.
I mean, I guess if you are thinking of it that way, I mean, you have more in common than you have different.
Yeah,
You know, that's interesting. Yeah. I mean, if you are a family with kids, you probably have a lot of the same issues and experiences that a family with kids would have here.
yeah.
Um, you
I
know,
remember once like where I served, like we didn't have. I mean, again, this is 25 years ago, so I don't know how things have changed, but there were no like phones. People didn't generally have phones in their houses. People didn't generally like we certainly didn't have any of that in our mission homes. Um, but one Christmas, my family sent me a VHS of Christmas at their home. And so we didn't have one. So I asked someone who had a VHS and a TV if we could watch it in their house so I could see what my parents had sent me. And it was my family at Christmas time around a Christmas tree and opening up all the presents. And I remember just watching that. And as I put the video on, like all of the like the little kids in the area came in to like watch this video. They wanted to see it. So I was watching it in real time with them. And I was just like so, I don't know, ashamed
wow.
at the wealth that we have. And I'm not, my family where I come from is not wealthy. Like My dad was a logger. We had 9 kids, so that is not high wealth.
Right.
But like in comparison to what they had, like I was just like ashamed. Like I'm just like, okay, let's turn this off.
Oh man.
Like the abundance that we have. I mean, simple things as running clean water. Like, you know how much time that saves in your day to have running clean water, to have a washing machine, to have carpet. I mean, carpet is non-existent in the Philippines. Like, at least again, when I was there, just all of these little things, just how blessed we are to have. And it's kind of like a fish in water. You can't really. It's not necessarily our fault that we don't appreciate it, but we have so much abundance and is that a blessing or a curse? Like you go like when I came off the airplane, it's just like how do missionaries do their work here in the United States just because of the circumstances that cause them to be so humble.
But you are right that I mean, typically speaking, the more wealth and success you have, typically the less humble you typically would be. And you are quote unquote doing you're successful yourself, right? You don't have a need for outside help. You don't need the gospel. You don't need the Lord. You don't need the Savior. You got it on your own, right? And people think and feel that way. And I've met plenty of people, which is interesting. I will say this though. I mean, occasionally you'll have somebody who they have all that stuff and they still feel empty. And I've met people like that who were fairly wealthy and successful and just felt completely empty, and knew they were missing something. And when they first heard the gospel, their eyes light up the same way that
For sure.
someone who may have been humble, and hearing the gospel in terms of hope that there's more. But it affects people almost the same way, because even if you don't, whether you have a lot or very little at all, there's this feeling of hope that people get. Um, and I think that might be universal. Just no matter your circumstances, there is that. But I could see very easily that some people would not be willing to, until they have been humbled, right? Just like in Alma 32. That's the chapter. I'm not a scriptorian, but I remember Alma 32 very well. And I used to read that all the time. It was the first chapter that I would read people after they finished the discussions and they hadn't committed to be baptized yet. I would typically want to read Alma 32 with them, because that'd give them a chance to reflect inwardly on being humble, and accepting the message, accepting the gospel. And I liked that it gave people a little bit of insight that, like it talks about there, you could either be humble by choice or you could be compelled to be humble, by circumstance or other means. Um, and so, one way or the other, you have to have some degree of humility to accept the gospel.
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe that's something that everyone has that in common. There's more, like we're saying, there's more alike than not alike, as we
Yeah.
look around the world.
Yeah, it's like ultimately the same thing has to happen. You have to believe in Christ, you have to humble yourself and repent, and then you have to accept him. And I can remember like every person who I had the privilege to help get baptized, like there was just it was just like a spark, like it lit them up, like you could just see that change in their heart, like it became, you could see it, like I kn every person you would just wait for it to happen. Like sometimes like they'd read the Book of Mormon, like, yeah, I feel it's true, but it hadn't like that conversion, that spark. But you can see it once it happens, like, okay, they're ready to get baptized. And so I always took like great comfort in knowing like it made people's lives better. Like what I was sharing with the people in the Philippines, it made their life better.
I no, I absolutely love that. I do, and I one thing I've talked to a lot of missionaries, not just on the show, but just in my life, and you know, uh, that you felt like you were doing something to help them. Like you were serving them, and you were bringing that message and serving them, and that's what gave you purpose, mission. That is the mission, right? Is to serve those people. Um, it probably changes a lot about how you reflect on everything else in your life to to think about how you were there just to bring them something that would help them. Um, yeah, yeah. I, it, any other thoughts that you have on your experience? I know you probably have lots and lots of stories, but I know I don't want to take up your whole day. You've got a family as well, so I want to say thank you again for the time on this. But yeah, other thoughts that occur to you, something that you would want other people to know or hear.
Yeah, I guess, there's just lots of miracles that you see on the way. Had experiences where praying and asking to see, like, know where to go and just like literally pinpointing, like walking, like, no, this isn't the house. This isn't the house that I saw in my, praying to know and seeing a family. And so just walking from place to place and like 30 minutes from this like vision coming to my mind, just going straight to the house, like not this house, not this house. And it's actually not house Nipa hut, not this Nipa hut, not this hut, that one. Going in and the guy saying, I've been praying to my family. I want to find a church for my family, and I've been praying to know. And they were baptized 2 weeks later. Like
Wow.
stories like that. There was a old lady who just like, I do not want to hear the mission. Like, no, I will not. Like, her son was actually a member of the church, and like, yeah, go see my mom. And she's like, no, I don't want to do it. But then, as soon as she saw the missionaries, she had a recollection of her father telling her that one day in her lifetime, she would see two missionaries dressed in white sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ. And everyone who listened to their message would be greatly blessed. And she had that remembrance flash into her mind when she saw the missionaries and was like, despite her, like, I'm going to slam the door, like that flash hit her mind and she was baptized. Anyway, there's all kinds of people who like just read like, I don't want to hear what you're saying. Like, okay, well, just, as you're getting the door slammed in your face, just read this. Can we just read this chapter of the Book of Mormon? We'll come back in a week and pick it up if you don't want it. Coming back in a week, waiting to like grab the Book of Mormon, because in the Philippines we were given a specific amount of Book of Mormons. It's not like here where I think you can hand out as many Book of Mormons. They'd love you to give out as many as you can,
Yeah.
but in there, like, we had a limited number of Book of Mormon. So if someone wasn't going to use it, like, we wanted to get it back so we could go give it to someone else.
Right.
So we came back to the house and basically asking for our Book of Mormon back. And she's like, yeah, this is true. I prayed like reluctantly to God, and yeah, he told me it's true. I want to get baptized. Like,
Reluctantly, but she's still praying. I love it.
so anyway, it's a, like, I think the scripture in Doctrine and Covenants 50, where it says, um, both are edified. Like, you are blessing people and they are blessing you with the stories. Now, maybe like the concluding thought would be like a powerful lesson that my mission president taught me was from Doctrine and Covenants 50. And it basically starts off, I think someone, I don't know who it was in church history, was like purporting to receive their own revelations on behalf of the church. And the revelation, Doctrine and Covenants 50, if I'm recalling it correctly, basically says, you have been receiving these false spirits. There's all kinds of spirits, and you've been receiving these spirits, and you took them to be from God, even though they were darkening your mind. And the scripture, God says, were you justified in believing this? And he never answers the question of whether you are justified or not, but Jesus says, but I'm merciful and I'll forgive you. But anyway, the principle that my mission president taught is whenever something like darkens your mind, you can know with certainty that it's not from God. And when something uplifts and edifies you, you know that it is from God. And this sounds like really basic, I know, but there was a time when I was in law school and I was exposed to like, not because of like what was taught in law school, but just at that point in my life, I was exposed to all of the anti-Mormon stuff that exists out there. And I remember like this complete dark feeling that came over me. And I remembered this Doctrine and Covenant Section 50 lesson that my mission president taught. And the thought hit me, and I recalled this lesson that if God was trying to teach me truth, how would I feel? I would feel uplifted and edified. Like he does not teach you truth through darkness.
Yeah.
And like if what I was hearing was true, I would feel like light, truth, like, and that was not what I was feeling. So it allowed me to recognize it for what it was. God is a God of truth, and he teaches through light and through truth. And even though I did not, and still to this day don't understand all of the things that are out there, you can discern what it is by the character of what it is. Is it darkness or is it light? And I recognized it as light or as darkness, and it helped me discern what is light. And so that one lesson is that I learned on my mission was a very, invaluable lesson that I've referred to time and again and hope to share with other people to the extent that it might help them.
And I think that it will. I mean, like you said, you'd think that if you have experience in the church, you're going to hear similar things like that. But experiencing it firsthand is something you'll never forget the feeling, right? And like what you're describing. I mean, I know I've had some similar experiences where something felt wrong or incorrect, and like you just said, you know deep down, okay, this is not correct. Now, what do I need to do now? I'm going to walk away from whatever this is, and or close the book or whatever it is. Um, when you're saying that, I was just imagining that how people where you're serving would feel when they got the Book of Mormon the first time. And like the one lady reluctantly praying, she's expecting it to be wrong, right? It's got to be. I don't believe it already. It's got to be wrong. I will reluctantly pray to confirm that it's wrong, right? to make sure that it's wrong and incorrect, and that my belief that it's incorrect is correct, right? And that's what they're thinking. And then when they feel that light, like you said, you feel the light and you feel the truth of it. I teach my kids that all the time. I try to remind them of that all the time. I want them to, like you just said, I want them to have that experience where they will recognize what it's like to hear something incorrect, to read something incorrect, and know that it's not true.
Yeah.
And I don't know when that'll happen for them. They're all fairly young. I'm sure they probably come across it some, but sometimes there's some things that I don't know if you're like this. Do you have a hard time remembering what you knew before your mission versus what you knew like on or after it?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
I haven't brought that up with anyone yet, but I oftentimes I remember I'm trying. Did I know that before I went on a mission? Did I understand that before I went on a mission? And I can't always remember when I learned certain things. But some things you will learn on your mission that you may not have ever really understood or learned before. Um, and then, like you just said, you carry it the rest of your life. You
Yeah, and
know?
it's in some ways it's important to like taste the light. So when you it's kind of like when Moses was visited by the Savior, and it was like I couldn't like, and then after that experience, he met Lucifer, and he's just like, I can look on you with my natural eyes. Like you can distinguish the difference. Like, so when you've had that experience where truth is conveyed to you through the Spirit, you understand what it feels like to have that I mean to be taught by the Spirit. And when you have the opposite of experience, you can just discern like that's not how God teaches. That's just not how he does it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, look, I'll point out one other concept here is that some people are very good at logic. You're an attorney using logical conclusions, right? Process of explanation or whatnot, right? That's something that happens all the time. Well, I've had people try to logically explain a principle of something that is incorrect to me. And I'm like, I know what you're saying makes sense. And logically, if you ask me to, does this make sense logically? Well, I have to say yes, because what you're saying logically makes sense. But I feel and I know that it's incorrect. The entire concept that you're talking about is wrong, right? And you just feel it and you just know it. Um, and when you just, mentioned, just the difference between if you had a chance to talk to the Savior and you had a chance to talk to Satan, I imagine Satan would try very hard to convince you, whereas the Savior wouldn't need to do that. Um,
Yeah, and if
it,
you remember the Moses story, like he went like ranting and on a tear, and it's just
yeah,
like, yeah, and not working. Like
yep.
I've seen the difference.
Weeping, wailing, and gnashing of teeth. If
Yeah,
that's the phrase I remember. Yep.
yeah,
So I mean, yeah, exactly. But the Savior doesn't need to do that because the Spirit confirms the truth of things. But Satan doesn't have that. So the only thing he can do is, you know, wail, get
Mhm.
angry, scream. If you don't believe the logical conclusions that he's throwing at you, what else does he have? Trickery and deceits. And if you have the Spirit with you, then those don't work. Um, it's interesting. And yeah, and having the experience on your mission, when you're attuned to the Spirit, you'll never forget it. Never forget it. Is there anything else that you want to share with everybody before we wrap up? I know it's you've given us more than enough time, and you've given us amazing stories for everyone to think about. Is there anything else that you want to leave with everyone before we wrap up?
Just my testimony of Jesus Christ. I guess one thing, if I was to, talk to someone who would be a new mission, when someone gave, uh, there was a person who was in the MTC who gave a talk, and he basically said, "Be a Book of Mormon missionary. Like, don't like convert people based upon whatever your charisma. Like, get them to read the Book of Mormon and get them to gain a testimony of Jesus Christ. Be a Book of Mormon missionary." And I remember thinking like, I bet it was like a really like powerful rah 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 message. And I remember thinking, I bet most people in this room, as awesome as this talk is going to forget this talk. And I just said, I am not going to forget it. And I am going to be a Book of Mormon missionary. And I was a Book of Mormon missionary. I helped my people, like we went in, and obviously the first invite is to get them to read the Book of Mormon. If they didn't read the Book of Mormon, like we didn't move to step two. We read the Book of Mormon together. And we asked them to read again. If they didn't come, we read the Book of Mormon. Like I was a Book of Mormon, like I was converted through the Book of Mormon, and that's how I gained my testimony, and that's how I helped other people gain their testimonies was through the Book of Mormon. So I leave my testimony that the Book of Mormon is true, and another testament of Jesus Christ, and leave that testimony. Encourage everyone out there, if there's anyone listening and have not yet gone on a mission, to be a Book of Mormon missionary.
That is absolutely wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Yes, I wholeheartedly agree with you. I do. I and I greatly appreciate it. I'm sure everyone listening also greatly appreciates um, eh, all your experience, your stories, your willingness to talk about it, so everyone can hear it.
Well, thank you for putting on this podcast. It's you know, I know you personally, and I know you have other things going on in your life besides this. So the only reason you're doing this is it's a labor of love, and you want to share goodness. So I commend you for doing what you're doing.
Thank you very much. And again, in addition to that, I'm very grateful for your stories, for your experiences, and I will go ahead and wrap this up. Uh, Everyone who's listening out here, if you and watching this and listening, if you haven't been on a mission, I hope that some of these experiences and some of these stories will convince you that you should go and you should serve. Almost without fail, everyone who's been on a mission um, believes that they made the right choice in life to do that. And the experiences that you get from being a missionary, there's no other comparison. So I do encourage everyone who hasn't gone, who wants to go. Hopefully, these will inspire you. Uh, if you have a story yourself, if you're listening to this and you have a mission story or an experience you think that that everyone else should like to hear it, and you want to share that, we'd be very happy to have you on the show. You can reach out to us on the description of the show. If anyone is interested in connecting with Elder Crandell here in some capacity to ask more questions about his missionaries' experiences, we will make sure that that gets connected to you as well for that to happen. Thank you again, Elder Crandell, for being on the show today, and we will look forward to seeing and seeing all of you next time on the Best Mission Stories.